Welcome to Aeronet's visual simulation training program for the Airbus A320. The A320 fire protection system provides fire and overheat detection and extinguishing within the engine nacelles and pylon, and for the APU compartment where fuel and bleed air systems may be possible fire sources. Smoke detectors and a fire extinguishing system protect the cargo compartments. The Avionics compartment has a smoke detection system only. The lavatories have smoke detectors installed in the ceiling and self-discharging fire extinguisher bottles installed over the waste bins. Controls and indicators are found on the overhead panel, the pedestal, the external power panel, and the overhead maintenance panel. The engine and APU firelight push-button switches, agent discharge push buttons, and test push buttons are located on the overhead fire panel. On the engine panel, next to the engine master switches are the fire lights. They identify which engine is to be shut down during the engine fire shutdown procedure. Located on the external power panel, forward of the nose gear doors, is the APU fire light and shut-off push button. The APU auto extinguishing test switch is located on the overhead maintenance panel. This test is a maintenance function only. When smoke is detected in the avionics compartment, the smoke light illuminates on the generator 1 line push button switch located on the emergency electrical power panel, and the fault lights illuminate on the blower and extract push button switches located on the overhead ventilation panel. Cargo smoke and discharge lights, guarded discharge push button switches, and the test push button are located on the cargo smoke panel, located on the right side of the overhead panel. Two independent continuous fire and overheat detection loops mounted in parallel are installed in each engine fan section near the accessory gearbox, in the aft part of the core section, and in the engine pylon. Detection loops in the APU compartment are installed next to critical components such as fuel lines, the starter generator, the fuel control unit, igniter box, and the turbine. Each detection loop is continuously monitored by one channel of a two-channel fire detection unit, or FDU. The two channels normally operate together and generate a fire warning signal when both Loop A and Loop B detect a fire or overheat condition. This prevents spurious or false fire warnings. If one fire detection loop is inoperative, the other loop operates independently, and the FDU will generate a fire warning when a fire is sensed by the remaining operative loop. When a fault is detected in both loops within a 5-second period, a fire warning will be generated. This could be the case if both loops simultaneously burned completely through. The fire extinguishing system consists of 2 halon bottles for each engine and 1 halon bottle for the APU compartment. When an agent switch is pressed, an explosive cartridge is electrically fired, rupturing a metallic diaphragm on the discharge head, which allows the extinguishing agent to pass into the distribution lines. When an extinguisher bottle has been fully discharged, a low-pressure sensor illuminates the discharge light on the fire panel. Touch the Agent 1 push-button switch. If the APU extinguisher bottle becomes overpressurized due to heat buildup, it releases the contents to an overboard pipe and a small red disc on the outside skin of the aircraft is ejected to indicate the bottle pressure is no longer available. The low-pressure sensor will illuminate the discharge light. If an engine bottle becomes overpressurized, the agent is released through the normal distribution system. The associated low-pressure sensor will illuminate the discharge light. When an engine fire warning is generated, the master warning light on the glare shield flashes. The continuous repetitive chime is heard. The fire warning message on the upper ECAM is displayed. The engine fire light illuminates on the overhead fire panel, and the fire light on the engine control panel illuminates. Lifting the guard and releasing an engine fire push-button switch causes the switch to pop out and silences the aural warning, closes the low-pressure and high-pressure fuel shutoff valves, closes the engine bleed valve and pack flow valve, de-energizes the generator, closes its respective green or yellow hydraulic shutoff valve, arms the fire extinguisher squibs, and illuminates the squib lights. Note, the fire light remains illuminated for as long as the fire is sensed. In the case of an APU fire, the master warning light on the glare shield flashes. The continuous repetitive chime is heard. The fire warning message on the upper ECAM is displayed. The APU fire light illuminates on the overhead panel. The APU fire light on the external panel illuminates, and the external warning horn sounds. The APU fire extinguishing system operates automatically on the ground. 3 seconds after a fire is detected, an emergency shutdown sequence begins and the APU extinguishing bottle is discharged. On the external panel, the APU fire light illuminates and the horn sounds. Confirmation of auto-extinguishing is accomplished by pressing the APU fire shutoff push button on the external panel. This action also silences the external horn. In flight, the crew must operate the APU extinguishing system manually. Lifting the guard and releasing the APU fire push-button switch starts an emergency shutdown sequence. The low-pressure fuel valve is closed. The APU generator is de-energized. The APU bleed valve and cross-bleed valves are closed. The fire extinguisher squib is armed, and the squib light illuminates. Pressing the agent push-button switch discharges the APU extinguishing bottle. Touch the APU fire switch, then press the agent discharge switch. The engine and APU fire detection and extinguishing systems can be tested on the ground or in flight. Pressing and holding the test push button, test the electrical continuity of the firing circuitry, test the low pressure warning of the fire extinguisher bottle, checks the condition of the fire detection loops A and B, and checks the integrity of the FDU. The indications in the cockpit will be covered in the procedures section. The APU auto-extinguishing system can be tested. This is normally a maintenance function, and performing the test will shut down the APU. The APU master switch must be on. Pressing and holding the test switch for approximately 10 seconds will illuminate the OK light if all components are functioning properly. Touch the APU auto-extinguishing test push-button switch. The Avionics compartment smoke detection system consists of an ionization-type smoke detector installed in the air extraction duct of the avionics ventilation system. When the smoke concentration in the measuring chamber reaches a predetermined level, the smoke warnings are triggered. The avionics smoke detection system is designed as a secondary smoke detection system used to confirm that there is smoke in the avionics compartment. The primary system is the pilot's own sense of smell. That is, ECAM actions are performed only if there is perceptible smoke. When the smoke detector detects smoke, the master caution illuminates along with a single chime. The avionics smoke warning is displayed on the ECAM. The smoke light illuminates on the emergency electrical power panel. The blower and extract fault lights illuminate on the ventilation panel, and the ECAM electrical page is displayed. In flight, the ventilation system normally operates in a closed-circuit configuration with the avionics air cooled by the skin heat exchanger and discharged into the underfloor cargo area. Selecting the blower and extract fan to override stops the blower fan and opens the air conditioning inlet valve, allowing air conditioning air to enter the system. The smoke-filled air is then exhausted overboard through the skin air extract valve. Select the blower and extract fan switches to override. Each lavatory is equipped with one ionization-type smoke detector installed in the ceiling air extraction duct. The Smoke Detection Control Unit, or SDCU, monitors the smoke detectors. When smoke is detected, the SDCU transmits a signal to the Centralized Intercommunication Data System, or CIDS, and to the ECAM. The CIDS sends visual as well as audible warning signals to flight attendants in the passenger cabin. The indications in the cockpit are a master warning, continuous repetitive chime, and a smoke warning on the upper ECAM. Portable firefighting equipment must be used to extinguish the fire. Each lavatory is equipped with a self-actuated halon extinguisher bottle mounted over the waste bin. It is heat-activated, and when the temperature in the waste bin area reaches approximately 79 degrees Celsius, the fusible material at the end of the discharge tube melts, discharging the bottle in 3 to 15 seconds. An adhesive temperature indicator on the waste chute gives an indication if an excessive temperature has been reached in the waste bin area. The cargo compartment smoke detection system consists of 2 ionization-type detectors in the forward compartment and 4 detectors in the aft compartment. It is a dual-loop system designed to prevent spurious or false smoke warnings. If one detector is inoperative, the other acts independently. The Smoke Detection Control Unit, or SDCU, controls and continuously monitors the cargo compartment smoke detection system. When smoke is detected, the respective smoke warning light comes on. The master warning flashes with a continuous repetitive chime. The smoke warning is displayed on ECAM. the aft isolation valve closes, and the extraction fan stops. The cargo compartment extinguishing system has one fire extinguishing bottle shared between the forward and aft cargo compartments. One distribution pipe connects the bottle to the forward discharge nozzle, and another pipe is connected to two nozzles in the aft compartment. The nozzles are installed in the smoke detector cavities in the compartment ceiling. When a guard is lifted and the discharge switch is pressed, the associated squib is detonated and the extinguishing agent is directed to the applicable compartment. Both discharge lights illuminate on the cargo smoke panel. The smoke light may remain illuminated because the extinguishing agent is dense enough to continue to activate the ionization detectors. Touch the cargo smoke discharge push button. When the test push button switch is pressed, the SDCU does an automated test and simulates the smoke and bottle discharged conditions. Touch the cargo smoke test push button. The forward and aft smoke and discharge lights illuminate. The master warning illuminates. The continuous repetitive chime is heard, and the cargo smoke warning is displayed on ECAM. After a short period of time, the test repeats itself in order to test the second channel of the SDCU. It may be desired to start the APU in order to supply AC power to the aircraft or to provide pneumatic air to warm the aircraft. Before starting the APU, perform the APU fire test. Ensure the APU fire push-button switch is in and guarded and the agent discharge light is extinguished. When the APU fire test push-button switch is pressed and held, the APU fire push-button switch illuminates and the squib and discharge lights illuminate. Perform the APU fire test on battery power only by pressing and holding the APU fire test button. If external AC power is already connected to the aircraft, in addition to the APU fire push-button switch and the squib and discharge lights illuminating, the master warning illuminates, the continuous repetitive chime sounds, and the APU fire warning is displayed on ECAM. Perform the APU fire test with AC external power connected by pressing and holding the APU fire test button. During the cockpit geographic check scan, perform the engine 1 and 2 fire test. Ensure the engine fire push-button switch is in and guarded, and the agent discharge lights are extinguished. Press the engine 1 fire test push button. The master warning illuminates, and the continuous repetitive chime sounds. Check the engine fire push-button switch is illuminated red, the squib and discharge lights are illuminated, and the fire light on the engine control panel is illuminated. The engine fire warning is displayed on the ECAM. Press the engine 2 fire test push button. On the emergency and electrical power panel, ensure the smoke light is extinguished. On the cargo smoke panel, ensure the 2 discharge push-button switches are guarded and the smoke and discharge lights are extinguished. On the ventilation panel, ensure the blower and extract switches are in the auto position and all lights are extinguished. The fire detection unit continuously monitors and analyzes the signal from the fire detection loops for fire, electrical failure, and for integrity of the loop. A fault is generated whenever the electrical signal is lost or reduced due to contamination of the connectors, there is a failure in a detector or a detector circuit, or a fire is detected in only one loop when the other loop's condition is normal. No crew action is required in flight, and the aircraft can be dispatched with one loop inoperative, as long as a fire test is accomplished before each flight. Refer to the MEL. Touch the right arrow to continue. This warning is triggered if both loops become inoperative or the FDU is inoperative. Remember, if both loops become inoperative within a period of 5 seconds, a fire warning is generated. Touch the right arrow to continue. The engine fire ECAM actions are not performed until the aircraft flight path is stabilized and at a minimum altitude of 400 feet above ground level. The first 3 items of the checklist must be monitored and confirmed by the pilot flying. Remember, the engine fire push-button switch remains illuminated for as long as a fire is detected. Perform the engine fire ECAM actions. Secondary failures are listed on the right side of the ECAM display as they occur. When the engine fire push button is released out, the countdown timer begins automatically. The 10-second delay before pressing the Agent 1 switch is to allow N1 to decrease, thereby increasing the effectiveness of the extinguishing agent. If the fire light remains illuminated after the first bottle is discharged, an additional 30-second countdown begins before discharging Agent 2. Clear Engine 1 by pressing the Clear button on the ECAM control panel in order to review secondary failure systems pages on the lower ECAM display. The bleed page confirms that the number 1 bleed valve and pack flow valves are closed. Clear bleed by pressing the Clear button on the ECAM control panel in order to display the status page. Generator number 2 automatically replaces generator number 1 and sheds part of the galley load. If desired, the APU may be started in order to power the number 1 AC bus. However, with an engine fire, do not open the APU bleed. Clear electric by pressing the Clear button on the ECAM control panel. The yellow hydraulic system is powering the green system through the hydraulic power transfer unit. Clear hydraulic by pressing the Clear button on the ECAM control panel. The status page lists the inoperative systems. Clear status by pressing the Clear button on the ECAM control panel. Recall that in flight, the APU fire procedure must be accomplished manually. Perform the APU fire ECAM actions. When the APU fire push button switch is released out, the countdown timer automatically begins. The 10-second delay allows the airflow to decrease, thereby increasing the effectiveness of the extinguishing agent. As soon as the fire light goes out, the procedure disappears from the ECAM. Note: on the ground with the cargo doors open, exhaust from the ground handling equipment may enter the cargo compartments and activate the smoke warning. In this case, do not discharge the agent. Immediately request ground crew to investigate and eliminate the smoke source. Touch the right arrow to continue. Recall that the forward and aft cargo compartments share one fire extinguishing bottle. If one of the two squibs becomes faulty, this warning is triggered. Crew awareness is required. If both SDCU channels fail, this warning is triggered along with the master caution and single chime. Both cargo and lavatory smoke detection is lost.